Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Angela. And welcome back to the little series I got going on here called the ABCs of Tarot. So this is basically the only way I could, with my Virgo brain, do all of my decks, show you guys all of my decks in my entire collection, because I haven't done that since I started my tarot practice back in 2019. It's the only way my Virgo brain can contemplate how to do this with you guys. So I basically am going through the alphabet and showing all my decks. At the end, there'll probably be an episode where there's stragglers that don't have names and things like that. But for now, we are only on, I've done A, B, C, now we're on to D. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 decks. One of the decks was a C deck, which I totally spaced on. I went through literally every deck and just didn't see it because I made a pouch for it. It says Dream on there. And it is the Cartes Divinatories D. Eligariel. And if you just do D. Eligariel, I guess it could be a D also. But it is a French deck. I got it on the French Amazon. It does have a cute little book with it. There's very few cards. I don't think there's only like 30 cards. The book is actually in French and in English, so that helps. And then it doesn't have keywords or anything on the deck. They're real tall, skinny cards. Real tall, skinny. And the backs are beautiful. They're just images. And I talked about this deck. It's a thicker cardstock too, so they're pretty good size, or pretty good thickness. I saw this, especially this image here on this image here was in a dream I had. And then it was on the Truth and Story. She was showing this deck, doing something with it. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I noticed the door here was in a dream I had. And then I started noticing other cards, like this one was in a dream I'd had. And this one was in a dream I'd had. And there's a whole bunch of cards in here that were in dreams I had years ago, prior to me ever knowing about this deck. And I'm like, what is happening? So I bought the deck. There's another image. It's from my dreams. Another one. There's only a few. Another one. Another one. Yep, that's from my dream. Yep, that's it. That's all the cards. And then I get the book. See, that shuffles pretty good. I get the book out, and it's at a time where I had stopped doing past life work. And okay, so this is number 31, right? And this deck kind of brought me back around to the past life thing, because I'm like, what is happening? And so if you go to page 30 or card 31, these are all images that gives you keywords and stuff, but it also gives you what you were in a past life. And I'm like, that's super interesting. So it says the Sword, spiritual power, courage, confrontation, justice, and trial. And I've been getting a lot of justice cards lately. Divination. The sword represents the domain of justice and balance. I get that all the time. It is typically a sign of victory. It also announces a confrontation, a struggle, and conflicts. Finally, it is an invitation to weigh the pros and cons of a situation. And then past lives, I could have been a knight, a Templar, or a fighter. So I love that. That makes this deck super unique. Plus the fact that so many of these, and it comes with this cute little ribbon, so many of these images were dreams I've had years ago. Like, were images in dreams I've had, which is crazy, right? Like, crazy. And that's why it has dream here. So, on the button. So that was the deck I had for C, or you could have done just D. Eligariel and it would have been fine. Anyway, So on to the D deck. So the first one I thought of is Divine Doors by Andres Ingracia. It is a Rockpool Publishing deck. It's a magnetic closure. Just simple cards. It's got simple sayings on the back, and then each card is a different door. Gorgeous, and I totally use these for meditation purposes. I draw a card and then imagine going through that door and seeing what I see beyond that. And it's yielded some pretty interesting things. Don't know why that was upside down. Maybe it's picking me. And as you can see, most of these are probably from not where I'm from, because I'm from the U.S. So it's a very interesting deck, and I love it. There's another one that's not right. And another one. That's weird. I love that. Yep, so that is the Divine Doors. And they each have a saying on the back of them. So let's draw a card real quick and see what door do I need to work with right now. What door do I need to look behind? So we're trying to pop out this blue one. What is that? Oh, interesting. And then on the back it says, yes, kiss the ground and touch the sky. Your soul is set now to leap and to fly. Beautiful. I love how these look like little faces, totems. Beautiful. So that is the Divine Doors, and that's what it's used for. It's a beautiful deck, and I love it. And it was like $10 on Amazon. Next we have, there's two of them. We have the Deviant Moon Borderless, and then we have the Deviant Moon Tarot by Patrick Valencia. It's a U.S. Games deck. This is the special edition version. I was actually given this, I paid like $10 for this deck. Brand new from a friend that was getting rid of decks. I'm not taking it out of the box in a while, but it is the bordered version. It is, I think it's bigger. I'm going to have to pull these out and look. But yeah, this is the bordered version. And everybody's seen this deck. It's beautiful. I don't like the borders. I don't like the borders. So that's that one. I'm going to pull this one out right now. This is the, I've used this one way more. It's got the little white book in it. These are the backs. And they do appear, yeah, they're a lot wider and a hair taller than the borderless. I did not notice that. So the bordered has basically the width of a border on it, and just a hair taller. And then I have edged this one in this dark. It's supposed to be a regular brown color, but it's coming off as like a burnt red, which actually matches the backgrounds in this deck. Matches the backgrounds amazingly. So, yeah, and I think because it's borderless, it just... And of course, I pull this card, the Five of Cups. I see this card as the wife berating the husband, and he's being made to be small. Interesting. I like that. They're carving this person. So, my thing is, because of the borders on this one, I can't get past it. I can't see what's actually happening in the card versus the borderless, where it's clearly, that's funny because that's got a border on it. It's clearly something you can see. Yeah. There's nothing to distract from the artwork, so you see it better in this borderless, is what I'm trying to say. What I was trying to get out. And I've used it a lot more And just looking at it now, I'm like, I need to get this deck out and use it more. Because I have got over my aversion to it because I've gotten the borderless. This bordered one is just, there's so much white before you get to the beautiful colors. And I think because I edged the other one in the brown and it's bringing out these more background colors in the deck, that not only, and there's that same card in this deck, it doesn't have the same ring to it as the borderless does. Yes, I see that it looks like the wife berating the husband, but it's like they're going through the motions. Whereas in the borderless, I can feel his pain. I can feel her anger. And I just don't get that same zing in the bordered version. Interesting. I do need to kind of pull both of these out and kind of compare the two. Because that was my first real, look at both of them together. So that's interesting that that's coming up here in my brain. So, and this is like a special box for this one. Yeah, I paid like $10 for that. It was brand new, still in the box. So that's the two Deviant Moons I have. So I have 3 decks left. One of them is the De La Nuit Oracle by Los Scarabero. It just came out 2021. I want to say 2021 it came out. Maybe 2022. I can't remember. I think it was the end of 2021 it came out. But it is a companion Oracle deck to the Tarot de la Nuit. And I didn't put this in here simply because it actually starts with Tarot de la Nuit. That's the title. So I'm keeping it for my T decks. Whereas this one is clearly just De La Nuit Oracle. It is the same exact cardstock. The same backs even, I think, are very similar backs to the tarot. These are all fairy tales. But they're very dark versions. They may not look dark, but the book, you start reading it and you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I've talked about this deck before, but the images are gorgeous. Very beautiful. They're beautiful. Bluebeard's Wife, Baba Yaga, Sleeping Beauty. I talked about the Little Mermaid in this deck. We'll come to her at some point. But the Little Mermaid winds up dying of a broken heart because her princess died. And instead of picking up her life and moving on, she dies from a broken heart. So that's just one of many of the deep, dark depths this deck takes you. And you don't think so on the surface. On the surface, it's a beautiful, almost like a little kid deck. Like these beautiful fairy tales. And then you start reading the book and you're like, what's happening? Because it's dark. Very, very dark. Is she the last card? She is the last card in here. The Little Mermaid right there. And then you see the statue of the prince. He's like drowning in the water. Yeah, it's crazy. But it's a gorgeous little deck. If you're wanting it to step into like a darker part of the fairy tale, this would be a great deck for that. So we got 2 decks left. The next one is and that was published, I did say Los Scarabero. This is the Divination of the Ancients Oracle cards by Barbara Michael John Free and Flavia Kate Peters. It is a Blue Angel deck. I did not know this deck existed until recently. I did get it, I think, at the end of the year, 2021. It's a glossy, it's typical old style Blue Angel deck. It's glossy cards with the borders. This is basically every kind of divination you can think of in an Oracle deck. And I was like, I love that concept. I love it. Love that concept. Have I worked with this deck as much as I thought I would? No. But I have used it. Yeah, I have used it. But I just thought that was an interesting concept, that you could pull a card every morning or once a week, and then that would be the divination tool that you would kind of study on that week. And I just thought that was interesting to be able to not just Because my brain is always going in 20 different directions. When I first started my spiritual journey, I dove into pendulums. I dove into past lives. I dove into the Akashic records, all kinds of things all at once. Because that's how my brain works. It dives into 20 different directions all at once. And this deck kind of hones that in and forces me to pause and figure out which cards which divination tool I'm going to use. And I think that's a pretty neat concept. And it does have tarot in here. Or did I just pass it? I'm just going to show you all the cards. We're almost done showing all the cards. I think it's the last card again. Nope, I must have passed it. I thought I passed it. Dowsing rods. There is a tarot card in here. Let's go back. Let's redo it. Some of these things I didn't even know were a thing. And I'm like, oh wow, this is like really happening. Wishbone. Come on. Wheel of Fortune. Okay, now I'm getting worried because I didn't see it in any of these. There it is, tarot. Yeah, but it's got the full. I love it. So, yeah, that is pretty interesting. I like the book. It's very informative. And then if you want to dive in deeper, you can just, beyond this book, you can dive in even further through studying and stuff. So, that was pretty cool. So, the last deck for the D's, you knew it was coming. It's the Druidcraft Tarot deck by Red Wheel. This is the smaller box set. This will probably be my project this weekend because here lately I've seen this deck again everywhere trimmed, and I'm like, God, I need to trim it because I'm pretty sure that's what keeps me from using this deck. It is totally my aesthetic, but I have a kind of aversion to this deck. It was never a deck I was going to buy. It was never a deck on my list to use, work with, buy, anything. And then I started dreaming of this deck. And I'm like, but why? Why am I dreaming of this deck? And the more I tried to ignore the dream, the more dreaming I had with this deck. And this deck specifically was like haunting me, even in my dreams, like to buy it. And I'm like, why? Even though it's totally some kind of aesthetic that I would use, I've never been drawn to this deck. And I couldn't understand why. I'm still not really drawn to it, even though it's gorgeous. Gorgeous. And I'm like, it could be very well the white borders that's stopping me from using it. Just like, much like the Deviant Moon I just showed you, the white borders somehow hinder my ability to look past those borders and see the deck for what it is, for what everybody thinks of this deck. Everybody loves this deck. I don't. I don't know why. I have not gotten rid of it because every single time I think I'm going to get rid of it, I dream about it. Or it all of a sudden pops up everywhere like it's mocking me. Like, hey, you bought me, now it's time to use me. I don't get it. And maybe if I just force myself to use the deck, I will figure out why. But I'm almost like a spoiled child at this point where I'm like, no, I said I don't want to use you. But yeah, so that's where we stand with the Druidcraft. And that is my last D deck in my collection. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, don't hesitate to comment below. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe and don't forget to hit that notification button so you're alerted to any future videos. And you guys have a good night. Bye.